Hi, this is Brennan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Adam Balderstone, and we're talking once again about the Return of Condor Heroes 2006 series. We're on to episodes 28 through 30, and we're slowly working our way to the end of this. I think we'll probably be done in the next 2 weeks or so, is what it's looking like. And in these episodes, a lot happens. Xiaolong Nu kills Zhenji Bing, a little bit by accident, but it still is... I think a satisfying conclusion to that plot line. During the battle, which is happening at Chongyang Palace, she is injured and she reunites with Yanguo. And while they're there, they get married in the shrine to the founders of the two sects. They get they get both pictures up there, and they end up getting married, sort of against the wishes of the Taoist priests. It's kind of, it borderlines on slapstick at moments in this scene. They get married. They go back to Ancient Tomb, and while they're there, a number of things happen. But the most important thing is Guo Fu and the others enter into the Ancient Tomb with Li Mocho. Li Mocho sort of tricks them, and Yellow Qi helps them find an escape. They get Guo Zhang back, the baby, and they end up, there's a misunderstanding where Yanguo is trying to heal Xiaolong Nu, and they're hiding in a coffin. And Li Mocho is also present, and they mistake a little bit of blue fabric for Li Mocho, and so Guo Fu throws Li Mocho's needles at Yanguo and Xiaolong Nu, thinking that they're Li Mocho. And this disrupts the whole thing.
She's the worst person in the world.
Yeah, she is the worst person. Like Xiaolong Nu's meridians are flooded with the poison now. She was already in bad shape, and now she's dying, and they don't know what to do. But Xiaolong Nu convinces Yanguo not to murder Guo Fu and to actually save her when Li Mocho throws her into the fire. And they decide to spend their final days together roaming through the mountain. And as they're doing this, they happen upon Reverend Yi Dang and a monk named Qian, who we learn is the former leader of Iron Palm sect, Qian Ren. And Yi Dang is trying to subdue the violent impulses of Qian Ren. And it's a very interesting moment in the story. And the third episode ends with all of the characters converging on Passionless Valley. And it kind of, there's a little bit of a time skip here where we suddenly have Li Mocho being surrounded by I think it's I forget the exact scenario, but basically they're all sort of fighting amid the passion flowers, and Li Mocho decides to use her disciple as a stepping stone to escape the passion flowers. And it ends on a cliffhanger where we don't quite know exactly what happens to Hong Lingbo, but it doesn't look good. And so I don't know, did I get all the details there? I hope I didn't gloss over anything.
I think you hit all the big points. Yeah, I mean, I think the Li Mochu scene was at the end was set off by her showing up at the inn right after her runaway disciple had been eating there and took off, and she figured it out. And then she crosses paths with everyone on the way to Passionless Valley. But
well, yeah, in the book there was a little bit, there was a lot more detail.
I'm sure.
Oh, one thing we forgot about: the return of Gong Soon, the master of Passionless Valley, makes a dramatic return to the.
That's right. How did we forget that? So what was he doing? Is he just going around? Is he turned into the Ice King from Adventure Time? He's just abducting women to be his bride now or something?
He's just reached his peak level of... Actually, he gets even worse than this. But the thing about Gong Soon is he starts out as this really dignified, like almost respectable seeming character who follows the, you know, like all of the social niceties, and over the course of the series he just becomes more and more decrepit and villainous, and like he loses an eye, he's you know, he's mistreating his daughter, and now he's abducting beautiful women. And so I think he who did he abduct? He abducted Wan Yan Ping, was that it?
Yeah, Wan Yan Ping he had
And
at the beginning.
and then he gets his hands on Guafu,
Oh, it's
and
like, oh, another pretty girl, whatever.
and he's just blatantly lecherous at this point. He ends up, he gets confronted by Li Mocho and Huang Rong, and he's like, "Oh, two more beautiful ladies." And he's just,
if you have Huang Rong and Li Mochu against you, that isn't a reason to be like, oh, pretty. It's like, no, run.
Yeah.
That should be your only reaction to having them team up against you.
And so we, you know, we get his dramatic return, and eventually everybody ends up being saved when I think Yellow Chi arrives. Right, that was was he the one who ended up saving them with his bolts?
Yeah, he was following it because I assume he was following to rescue Wan Yan Ping.
And in the book, what was interesting was initially those bolts were mistaken for Guo Jing's arrows, because that's what he's famous for. So Huang Rong, when that first happens in the book, for a moment she thinks Guo Jing is there, and again and I think we also learned that Yellow Chi is the disciple of Zhu Batong in this episode, right? That's
that comes out. I kind of figured that out when Huang Rong kind of laughed about him not telling. I'm like, well, which master of that organization is in any way funny at all? And it's like, okay, it's got to be Zhu Batong. Why else would you laugh?
Well, it's amusing too, because you kind of keep forgetting that Zhu Batong is part of Chuanzhong Sect, because he has, like, this whole time he's got like nothing to do with them at all, and he is like the polar opposite of them. He just doesn't behave like them. He has a whole other set of priorities that he, you know, like this, all 3 episodes, all he cares about are the bees. Like, that's what he's interested in, and he's trying to kill Xi Jing with the bees, basically, this whole time. And so, but I don't know, what did you think of the wedding scene? Because that's kind of when Zhu Batong makes his return in the
The wedding scene was pretty good. I liked the whole kind of tension going on in the background with all these members of Kwanzaan sect that really want to drive them out, but none of them are brave enough to take that step and try and kick them out. So they're just kind of like hovering in the background, like fuming over what's happening. It was
and they're very outraged because they feel that the reputation of the whole sect is now being sullied by these two, you know. It's
a very Yangao move, definitely. I was like, this is easy, you know. It's funny because it's like it is him just kind of thumbing his nose at Kwanzaa sect, and it is also kind of touching because they both are very invested in the story of the elders of the sect and their tragic love, and trying to do better than they did. So it's a scene that works on a lot of different levels, I think.
Well, and he's just kind of muscling his way around with that giant sword. It's really amusing watching him. Like, at one point he drops the sword on Sun Bu'er, and he just like uses the weight to like be like, you know, like, you guys are just gonna do what I want. It's a really interesting scene, and I like to see, like, the thing that they do is they try to drop the bell on them, and it's kind of hard to see, but he basically knocks it off and it drops on the Sandor.
Okay, I missed him knocking it. I was like, did she just drop it like 20 feet away? What happened there?
No, but in the book, it's about as silly as it is in the show. It's got that kind of goofy feel to it. And then that bell becomes important when Zhu Batong arrives, and he opens it up because he's lost control of the bees. He's trying to kill Xi Jing with the bees, and he summons too many, and he ends up running to the shrine, and he lifts up the bell and he kicks out Sun Bu'er. She basically, this whole time, she's just being, you know, pestered by people and humiliated, and he goes inside the bell to hide, and that's it's just a really crazy, interesting scene. And then they end up going off back to Ancient Tomb Sect.
Yeah. I
And
like Batong's obsession with the bees thing too. 'Cause it's like he's this one of the, what this amazing martial artist. There's so many ways he could go after Zhang Jiming, and like take him out. It's like he's got his new bee power. He just bought this power, and it's like he's gonna use this power. It doesn't matter. He's just ignoring every other trick he has, and he's just gonna focus on that.
well, it's funny too because I think after Jing dies, Yaluchi arrives. And the first thing he says to him is, "Oh, my disciple, I've learned this new bee technique. Do you want me to teach it to you?" And there's just so many more other things going on because the whole thing that was leading up to this was that Chuan Zen sect was attacked by the Mongols had shown up with their edict, and Ji Bing was trying to figure out what is our response to this edict that we've just been issued, and eventually Yang Guo ends up getting into a battle with Jin Lun, and he defeats him, and he's about to deliver a killing blow, and his two disciples, Huadu and De Erba, block the blow, and Huadu chooses this moment to abandon. He basically, I forget what his excuse is, but it's like the worst excuse in the world. He basically convinces De Erba to hold the weight, and he just runs off.
Yeah. Now I'd say the tone of these episodes is really good because there's a lot of entertaining stuff and exciting stuff and funny stuff going on. Because it would be really easy for the fact that Zhao Longnu gets badly wounded again. It's like she's dying. It's like, well, we've just had Yang Guo dying for a bunch of episodes, and he's kind of at a stable point, and now she's dying, and like we've had so many people poisoned or dying. It's just like it would be easy for that to kind of drag the show down a bit at this point. But it's like the show does a good job of balancing that with all these other things, so it becomes a plot point, but it doesn't. If the show is focusing too much just on that right now, I'd be like, it's too much. You're kind of pushing too hard at this point. But it all kind of hangs together.
Yeah, and the whole thing with her being injured and him trying to heal her is very involved, and lot of it's a very complicated condition she ends up in, because at first he tries to heal her, and then he realizes she tells her the story of how her master died and it was apparently Yu Yongfeng who killed her. And and because of what he did, she couldn't use the jade bed, and he realizes, there was something involving Yu Yongfeng's acupoints where they inadvertently release him, and it's because his acupoints are all reversed and stuff. And Yang Guo realizes that they can use that technique to mess around with her acupoints and then get her to heal on the jade bed. And as she's healing on the jade bed, Li Mocho arrives and palms her, and she ends up absorbing the 5 poison energy.
If I understood it, it healed her previous problem, but poisoned her at the same time. If I followed that correctly,
it's very convenient. In fact, I'll have to find the episode and link it. But me and Kenny talk about this at length when we're reading the book, and it's very confusing. But yeah, basically we're having poisons stacked on poisons, and there's all kinds of effects. And it seems like this cured her, but also put her in somewhat greater peril at the same time. And then Yang Guo is trying to heal her of the 5 poisons, and it's during this healing that Guofu strikes them with the needles. And what's very interesting about this scene is how unrepentant Guofu, like Yellow Qin realizes right away, you're like, okay, you were wrong. Apologize to them, please, because he can see that Yang Guo is getting very mad, and Yang Guo has this giant sword, and Guofu is very
also
stubborn.
He has a shred of human decency too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he does have that too. And Guofu, when Yang Guo sort of just justifiably expresses his anger, she's like, well, what were they even doing in the coffin anyways? Who hangs out in the coffin like that? It's just she's very good. She always has a response.
She's just gone from it's like her Annoyingness was almost like kind of a comic relief character earlier in the series. She just got being this character every time she's on the screen. It's just like, man, I utterly
Yeah.
despise you.
It's interesting because she's cut off Yangor's arm, and now
Yeah,
she's lethally poisoned his true love, who he just married and reunited with, and now they are only gonna, obviously things might change, but
yeah,
at the present moment it seems they only have days, and Xiaolong Nu takes the news pretty well. She says, "Well, I guess our fate is just bad. This is just the our
yeah,
fate is bad. Let's not ruin the love of other people."
yeah,
She
yeah.
has a very charitable interpretation of events, and she manages to calm Yangor's anger, because one of the things with Yangor and Xiaolong Nu is Yangor always does what Xiaolong Nu tells him to do.
Hmm.
If she and even at one point in the conversation when she's trying to give him the antidote to the five poisons and he spits it out because he's so angry, she says, "Have you stopped listening to me?" And he takes the pill when she reminds him of that. So
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah. So apparently you're not a fan of Guafu at this point. It sounds like
not at this
you're on the hate
point. No,
train for
uh,
uh,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's just infuriating. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just yeah, there's just something about her that makes her more hateful than most of the straight up villains in this series.
I won't give away what happens with her, but I will say this: I think that Louis Cha has 100% integrity with that character and where he goes with her, and it's
Uh,
kind of infuriating as a reader, but it also, I think, makes for a much better story
oh,
because.
I'm not hating her as thinking she's a
Oh no,
bad character.
I'm talking about the future. I'm talking about where he
Okay.
goes with it. Like I imagine you're probably thinking, okay, this is like, where this needs to go to get the sense of satisfaction that you want, right? As a reader,
Uh-huh.
like there's a few options, and he does not choose any of those options.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that kind of thing too. I don't demand the story goes a particular way for me to be satisfied with it. Like I say, if character integrity is preserved,
It's a
I
good
can I
thing.
can go any direction.
And definitely, I mean, I think she is. Me and Kenny did not stop talking about how much we disliked Guafu, because you're supposed to. She's supposed to be an
Yeah.
unlikable character. In a way, you almost feel bad for the actress who has to play this character that everybody hates, because
Yeah.
she's.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever encountered a character that's this, like, goes like you said, she goes from being annoying and frustrating to, like, I cannot stand this person. This, like, you hate her more than you hate Lee Mocho or Gong Soon, and they're terrible characters. They're
Yeah. Yeah.
horrible people.
This reminded me, my mother was an actress when she was younger in the theater, and she'd be in a lot of children's theater and stuff. She said, it's like she was in some play where she was playing like a wicked witch or something like that, and she just remembers after the play they'd like have a little gathering where the kids could meet the actors, and like this little girl came up to him and was like, "I hate you." She just was like, "Whoa!" It was like full of passionate intensity.
I mean, I guess that's. But I think the I don't remember the actress's name who plays her in this, but I think she does a good job with the character.
Yeah.
She definitely gets the tone down, and the
Oh, she nails it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she is perfect in the role. So, but yeah, having the Reverend show up at the end too was interesting to me, having been introduced to him in the Brave Archer series of movies, so I knew where he was coming from and his backstory and everything.
Well, and this is interesting. So, I mean, and basically, I think the Mongols set the hill on fire, and the
Yeah,
Taoists have to flee Chongyang Palace, and they have to leave Ancient Tomb, and all the heroes basically disperse. And Zhao Nu and Yangor decide to spend their remaining days going up the peak of the mountain, and they go to a snowy cabin where they encounter Yi Dang and Chien. And it's really interesting because this guy. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, this guy is one of the most evil characters in the book, probably the most evil. He kills a baby in Legend of Condor Heroes.
yeah,
He doesn't just kill it; he does the iron palm technique on the baby, and
yeah.
it's for a really petty reason. It's not like the baby posed a threat to him or the baby was the son of one of his great enemies that he had. It was basically, if I remember, so he could win a martial contest.
Yeah.
It was like a really crummy move to pull. And now Reverend Yi Dang, who was involved in that whole thing, Reverend Yi Dang feels guilty about what happened as well.
Oh yeah, you're setting it up so that Reverend Edang would have the choice of healing the baby or not.
And that's why he became a monk, and now he's trying to reform Qian Ren, who's now monk Chien. And it's a really interesting thing because he's clearly been doing this for a number of years at this point, and it's clearly not taken firm enough root yet. Like
No.
Chien at one point, he's flying into a rage and he says, "Well, I've already killed, so I should just continue the killing." And he and it just seems like Yi Dang is spending almost all of his time calming down Chien. Like this is what he probably does, you know, most days. He probably,
It's,
and
yeah, well,
oh, go ahead.
oh, go.
No,
It
go
was
ahead.
interesting to me that because they didn't make it clear who Chien was at first. To me at least, it took me a little bit to remember. Oh, that's the Iron Palm guy. I remember this whole backstory, but when he was mentioned earlier in this series when the letter shows up at Passionless Valley. Then I had this picture in my head when that letter showed up of him writing this letter, being this meditative kind of I've achieved
Yeah.
inner peace and I forgive my enemies and stuff. It's like no, he wrote that letter. He got the right words down in that letter, but he has not reached the level of
No.
enlightenment that I pictured from the guy that wrote that letter.
And
So that I enjoyed that.
and it gets even more interesting. We'll have more interesting stuff to chew on with them down the
Yeah,
road.
I'm really looking forward to him showing up in Passionless Valley. I mean, there's just so many characters converging that have interrelated backstories right now that it feels it real. I always I could have just kept watching last night. I wish I could have.
And we actually ended on a pretty bad cliffhanger too. It would have been good to go another episode or two, I think, just for.
I would have been fine with that.
But another thing that happened is, or another interesting thing about it is, his whole story arc involves the killing of the baby, and this
Yeah,
comes like at a really timely moment because Yango has just abducted
yeah,
Guo Zhang from Huang Rong, and so you can sort of see how, and like they just got her back. But like one of the things that he was doing was he because he was so angry at them, he was intending to give it back, but he basically he stole the baby because it was his way of satisfying his own pride. But eventually he gets so angry, he's like, "I'm never giving the baby back." He's
yeah.
intent on keeping the baby. And So it's interesting that there's like a contrast between him and Qian Ren there. I think where I feel like he's getting glimpses of where things could go if he goes down a certain road from time to time, and I feel
Yeah.
like he's learning by observing these characters. And again, it's just nice how the previous story keeps intruding on the current story in this way with the old characters returning, and it's seamless. It doesn't feel forced. It could really
No,
be
it
something that feels
came
forced.
together very well.
Nope. Can
Uh-oh.
can you hear me, Adam? Hello?
I can, yeah, we
Oh,
cut out
okay.
there for a bit,
All
but
right. Well, we're
it
getting
seems
close
to
to
be
the
back
end
now.
anyways. So,
Are you
did
hearing me?
yeah, I can hear you. Adam, can you hear me?
Okay, great, great. Yeah, I can.
Okay. So we're having some technical difficulties, but we'll continue on.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, was there anything else in the episode that you wanted to discuss?
Ah, boy. Let's see. Uh, I think I've covered most of my big points, unless there's something else you've got that. Now, at the moment, I'm just very much looking forward to seeing where this all converges. Right now, it's moving towards something big.
I guess the one thing we glossed over is how all of the characters, like the Wu brothers and Guafu and Wan Yangping and Yellow Yan, they're all being paired up with somebody to love now. So
Oh yeah, of
they're
course.
sort of resolving those loose threads. It's a
Yeah, it's coming together very tidily, but sadly, there's nobody for the master of Passionless Valley yet.
no.
So
Well,
I don't know.
there's
I'm
still some
feeling really
possibility.
bad for him.
Well, there's a thread in the book. I don't know if they passed it over in the show or not, because I can't remember if it happens before the moment we're at or
He and
after.
Mochi are going to get together.
Well, you've kind of discovered it yourself. So it's not quite that, but he attempts it, and so it's sort of when he reaches
I
his
saw that
lowest.
they kind of there was a feeling of that in the scene when they were fighting when he gives the oh, two more beautiful women. There's just this look she has. I'm like, oh, is something gonna
So
happen here?
so I'm going to spoil something, and I apologize, but basically he ends up trying to join forces with Lee Mocho. And again, I don't know if this
Uh,
actually happens in the show, so that's why I'm talking about it. And Lee Mocho goes along with it and leads him on, thinking that yeah,
uh,
they'll be lovers and everything. But she has nothing but contempt for him because she's still
of
very
course.
chaste, and so. But it's his lowest point as a character, and there's only one more step lower for him to go after that. Um, and
Oh man.
but he's
Yeah,
yeah.
I sensed that from the scene.
Okay.
They kind of did a good job of setting that up.
Yeah, and again, they might get into it in the show, but I don't. I have a feeling they don't. I think they might gloss over it because I feel like there was a big time skip. Then that might have been when it happened, but I could be wrong. I could have my chronology out of order here. And also, the monk from India gets captured by Passionless Valley, and Lua ends up going.
Yeah.
It seems to help them. At the very least, she goes and asks about Yangor because she's concerned about him. Um, and so we're going to pick up on that thread next time. That goes in an interesting direction, I can assure you. Um, there's a lot going on here. But it's nice that like everybody is converging on Passionless Valley, and we kind of have all the characters in one place, except for like Goa Jing and a few other people. Like there's there are people that are not present, but Huang Rong, Li Mocho, Yangor, Xiaolong Nu, uh, poor sad Hong Lingbo. It's a I feel the worst for Hong Lingbo. Like she's the character that is. She has sort of torn loyalties because she's trying to help. The other characters who are on the receiving end of Li Mocho's wrath, but she's still a dutiful disciple,
Yeah.
despite all that. And she just as you can see in this scene, she's literally used as a stepping stone
Yeah,
to
you can't try and split the difference on that kind of relationship. You either have to be all in with Limochu or you have to break with her, but it
even then.
doesn't work well.
I think if you get Lee Mocho on the wrong day, um, she I mean
Oh yeah,
you know
yeah.
it, I wouldn't want to be Lee Mocho's disciple. That sounds like a really chaotic situation to have to survive. Um,
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Even in the best of circumstances, it's still going to be bad. But trying to play both sides is a terrible, terrible idea.
yeah, I would agree. And also, we get the nice reunion with Cheng Ying and Lu Shuang, and they discover that Yang Guo's arm is missing. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, that was a good scene. I did like that. Yeah.
and they have nothing but respect for Zhao Long Nu when they finally meet her. So the love triangle or quadrangle situation is kind of resolved by
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was nice because they're two characters that have dropped out of the story for a long time. I feel like I said, a lot of characters, either from the previous book or just from earlier in the series, are all kind of rising back, and I've enjoyed every return of each character into the story as it's happened.
What's amazing about the story is there are so many characters and they all really stick out
Yeah,
individually. With the exception maybe of the Wu brothers. I tend to get them confused just because they're always on sort of the same page, and so,
yeah.
but most of the characters are pretty distinct.
Well,
And
I liked the insulting name. I forget that Yang Gao has, and they
oh,
call him that name. And Xiao Long's
Stupid
new is
Egg.
just
They call him Stupid Egg.
stupid. Yeah, it's like Xiao Long New is just kind of like shocked, like, why are you calling him this?
Yeah.
It's like to them, it's just like, oh, it's just his name.
Well, and I don't think Xiaolong Nu, I don't think has a sense of humor. So
No.
like, I think she takes everything very literally, and so yeah, it's a yeah. She it's like she's perplexed when she hears them say that. She just does not understand why they would even use that to describe him.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, this is I think what we have like 10 or 11 episodes left. We're in the final stretches. I think
Yeah.
we've basically if it probably is starting to pair up with the novels now. So I think we're in the fourth volume of the story. Basically, I could be wrong, but we're basically at the tail end of this, and we're about to go someplace very interesting. I think you'll see sort of with the it I'm gonna be very curious. Actually, the one thing that this version might not do well is it might not deal with the epilogue very well. The epilogue is very important. So,
Yeah,
uh,
you told me I might want to just read the epilogue
yeah,
after that, and I will probably do so because I don't think I will be up in my actual chronological reading by that point, but I think I'll skip ahead and read the epilogue then.
well, it's a pretty important one if you want to understand the next series in this.
No, exactly.
Yeah, if you want to
Yeah,
understand Heaven Sword Dragon Saber, that epilogue's pretty important. Um, and and yeah, so again, I think we covered everything. I thought these this is where things just are. The series is kind of pure gold at this point because you're getting all the dividends for everything that's been laid down, and your
yeah,
patience is being rewarded. I feel, and also who everybody is at this point. It's a early on the show or the book can be a little bit confusing because you're absorbing so many new characters early on, but at this point you now kind of have a handle on everything, and I
hmm
think we're going to get a few new characters because of the time skip that's coming up, but actually more than a few new characters. But I assure you they all kind of stand on their own, and yeah, so I don't know. It's a really great story. And again, you can find this online in fan translation form. There is no official translation of the story, but the fan translations that are out there are pretty good. And it's a really great read. I highly suggest it. And you can catch the 2006 series. I haven't checked on Amazon to see what the availability is. But back when I got it, it was still like around 30 something dollars. I think it's probably not at that rate anymore. But you don't necessarily have to see this one. There are other versions. I would just caution people to steer clear of the 2014 series until they've seen some of the others that are more faithful to the books. Even this one takes some liberties, but the 2014 version takes so many liberties. If that's your first exposure to Return of Condor Heroes, you will not know the story. You will be very confused if you go back and try to see some of the other like Legend of Condor Heroes or you'll just be misled. And it's also one that's it gets a very mixed reaction from people, so we'd be aware of that. But 2006 is good. There's a version in the 80s that's very good. There's some very popular versions in the 90s also. But this is the 2006 version, and it's again, I think it's still available on Amazon. And also we have some announcements. This Friday we're doing Tai Chi Master on Wuxia Weekend, and again, people can support Wuxia Weekend at our Patreon, which we always link to, and we're also going to do a special on Cobra Kai on Saturday. We're going to be talking about the first 5 episodes. We're going to do it in 2 chunks, and so we'll have part 1 and a part 2. And I think that's going to be an interesting discussion because we had the first 3 Karate Kid movies that we did last year, and I know
not knowing about the Cobra Kai series, it was just kind of a coincidence, and it's like, hey, now we've got more to do, and ending just. Episode 5, I've been very careful about not going further to keep my discussion clean, but it's like it is exactly the point. If this were actually like a really long movie with an intermission, it feels exactly like the point where the intermission title screen would come up, and you go out and get some popcorn at that moment.
And in fact, I would say if people are interested in following that discussion, go try to check out at least the first 2 episodes of Cobra Kai if you haven't, and you can do I think everybody's doing the free trial thing, and then ending the subscription as soon as they watch it. You can do that. But I was really impressed with it. I was not expecting much because I figured it was like a money grab, or it was there's a lot of remakes now that kind of feel cheaply nostalgic, and this is nostalgic, but it feels like nostalgia done very well to me. And
this is way better than I would have ever expected it to be.
And surprising in a lot of ways. There were a lot of interesting surprises in it, and so we're going to do that on Saturday, and also earlier, probably on Thursday or so, I'm going to put up a discussion that Lady Chow Fung and I had on Iron Triangle movies, where we picked 5 Iron Triangle movies and we talk about them, and so. For those who don't know, Iron Triangle movies, they star T. Lung, David Chang, and they're directed by Chang Chia, and they all kind of have a distinct feel, and so we put up a list of 5, and we just have a special episode where we discuss them, and we talk about Iron Triangle movies in general, and so that should be up probably on Thursday, and so until then, we will talk to you later.